Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Hello and welcome to Strategic Frontlines, the Clause YouTube channel. Today, I am going to cover an important issue related to future technologies. The last few days, we have been undertaking a number of seminars which are related to future technologies and how should these technologies be absorbed, or how should we go about first developing these technologies which will be so essential in the future conflicts that take place between India and our adversaries, which are both on the northern, western, and there are some more adversaries who are springing up as time is passing by. So therefore, what we are going to do is we will first identify the need why these future technologies are required, and what is the cause behind these, and then come up with a strategy how to develop them and how to induct them into our armed forces so that we are able to go beyond op sindoor. The essential thing is that the op sindoor was just the beginning of a conflict, and it got ended in about 88 90 hours, give or take 1 or 2 hours here and there. So therefore, in the future, going by the global trends, you will find that the warfare wars are not going to be small, or they're not going to be short and of limited duration. They're going to be most likely prolonged, as you can see in the case of Israel Hamas, Israel Syria, Israel Iran, Israel Houthis, America Houthis, and then Russia Ukraine. So there are a whole lot of examples of conflicts which are not getting restricted to just the short limited conflict. We were able to met out the required punishment to our adversary on the west, and it came on its knees very early. वो अपने घुटनों पे बड़ा जल्दी आ गया, लेकिन आगे क्या होगा, आगे कैसे होगा, ये हमको अभी ध्यान देना होगा। उसके लिए हमें तैयारी करनी है, क्योंकि अभी हमें बहुत आगे जाना है अपनी कैपेबिलिटी में। तो मैंने क्या किया है कि एक प्रेजेंटेशन आप लोगों के लिए तैयार की है बेस्ड ऑन 3-4 दिन के अंदर जितने भी सेमिनार्स वगैरह हुए हैं, उससे मैंने एक निचोड़ निकाला है। I've taken out a brief of the technologies which are important for us, where we are compared to the rest of the world, especially our adversaries and the United States of America, which is some kind of a benchmark on as far as technologies are concerned. I do agree that in certain areas, China has gone ahead of US also, but then quality is something which is off suspect as far as China is concerned. So we should take the Chinese technologies with a pinch of salt, because you know what, they are untested in battle, and that is why probably in Op Sindoor, they when they realized the state of their technology being demolished by our indigenous systems like BrahMos, Akash and Akash Tir, and there were many other missiles, etc., which we had used. So therefore, I think China also pressurized Pakistan to stop the conflict. They may be working now more on their technology. So, without any further ado, let me just carry on with the presentation deck. It will help us in going through our subject today. So, future technologies and strategy for defense forces. This is going to be our main thrust of the discussion. The aim is that in Op Sindoor 2, we strike hard, even harder than what we did earlier, and make our adversary realize that it has entered into a hornet's nest if it takes any panga with India, in a very colloquial language, if it tries to kind of go against India. So therefore, the whole idea should be, let action and not hesitation be the hallmark of India's defense strategy. Whatever strategy which we ultimately create for ultimately make for ourselves, it must be based on hard action, and there should be no element of hesitation. कोई हमारे अंदर कोई हेजिटेशन की कोई जगह नहीं होनी चाहिए अगर हम एक बार स्ट्रैटेजी बना लेते हैं उस स्ट्रैटेजी को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए। तो सबसे पहले मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि why is technology becoming more and more important. It is basically based on the strategic challenges and the opportunities which India has. Now you will realize that India has uh, to meet the challenge of China, which is the priority one uh, adversary of ours. We also need to realize that China is creating its own ecosystem of technology. वो अपने आप एक अपना इकोसिस्टम बना रहा है टेक्नोलॉजी, नई न्यू जनरेशन टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में, एंड यूएस इज ट्राइंग टू डू द सेम विद help of its other allies also. India is neither with the US nor with China nor with USA, Russia. So India has to make its own strategy. So that from that perspective, I think managing China becomes our priority number one. Then we also need to understand that we need to, you know, be capable of operating in the Indo-Pacific, which is which is a great opportunity as far as Indian Ocean region is concerned. Within the Indian Ocean region, अगर आप देखेंगे तो we have a tremendous asymmetry with Pakistan as far as the maritime power is concerned. As far as the Chinese or our northern adversary is concerned, it calls itself as a near Indian Ocean power. It doesn't call itself as Indian Ocean power. It calls itself as a near Indian Ocean power, obviously, because it cannot enter the Indian Ocean without India or Indian maritime forces getting to know about it. However, to overcome this, it has been trying to, make bases in Gwadar. It tried doing something in Sri Lanka, Djibouti. It has got some base, and it has got patrols which are operating in the Arabian Sea, basically for escorting their ships, etc. So it does have some presence. Plus, it keeps showing its hydrological ships which are doing research, and actually they are actually doing spying on India. हमारे ऊपर हमारे हमारे लोकेशंस हैं जो हमारी टेक्नोलॉजिकल एसेट्स हैं जो कि प्रोटेक्ट कर रही हैं हमारे देश को, उनको मैप करने की कोशिश करता है. सो प्लस अपने ही कुछ जो ऑपरेशंस होते हैं, दे हैव टू, if they have to come into Indian Ocean, they have to use the submarines. Submarines require a detailed hydrographic mapping, because the depth is a very important factor if the submarines have to come anywhere near our coast. So therefore, it is the Indo-Pacific is one area where we have considerable influence, and with the support of our partners, I think, and we can be a good containing factor for China. Then we have we have to manage our strategic autonomy. You see, what happens is that because we follow a strategic autonomy route, we should, I think, change this whole narrative. हमको ये strategic autonomy वाला जो narrative है ना, इसको change करके we should call it our bridging power. That means we are the connect between the various blocks which are now getting created, whether it is the China-led or Russia-led block, or whether it is the US-led block, or there are some other blocks also. So therefore, what India has to do is to become the link between these power blocks, because India now has the heft. Earlier, we could not do so because we really didn't have the power. हमारे पास वो power और शक्ति नहीं थी जिससे कि लोग हमें सुने. हाँ, थोड़ा बहुत आपको अमेरिका की तरफ से कुछ ऐसी आवाजें आजकल सुनाई दे रही हैं, where they are trying to pressurize India into signing the tariff. But you've seen that India has resisted all those efforts. So therefore, this bridging effort will give us opportunities in terms of I'll give you an example. For example, for the jet engine, for our AMCA project, advanced aircraft project, where it was a battle between Safran and Rolls Royce. The Safran won. Possibly this is the latest which I've heard. So what we are doing is, because of our flexibility in relationship with the various blocks, we are able to actually capitalize on technology. So that is something which is very important. The next thing is we need to harness this technology. You see, just merely having technology is not important. What is important is that man behind the technology is very important. So harnessing of technology is something of a big challenge for us. We have to absorb it into our war fighting doctrine, and thereafter prepare our human resource. So these are the challenges which we have to actually overcome in the next few years, so that we are able to be prepared fully for the next round. Water management and internal security issues, you find technology is a very good leverage which we have. We can manage internal security in terms of predict where certain insurgencies might raise. We can predict through AI and other technologies the kind of opposition we are likely to face in terms of terrain information, geospatial intelligence. So a whole lot of technology can actually enable us also in fighting the information warfare, whether it is inside the country, outside the country, because inside the country also there are elements which are trying to undermine जो हमारे efforts को, हमारी एकता को, our unity is undermined by these some of these internal elements as well. Then you have the maritime security, of course, goes without saying. Without technology, without the kind of the technological advancements in terms of the next generation, is not going to fructify. Countering terrorism and cross-border threats, it's again what you saw in Op Sindoor. This is something we should not undermine intelligence, because if we do not lay adequate focus on intelligence, we'll keep getting surprised. पहले भी हम सरप्राइज होते रहे हैं, पहलगाम में भी हम सरप्राइज हो गए. तो वो जब तक हमारा इंटेलिजेंस सिस्टम इज नॉट गोइंग टू इम्प्रूव, and for that we need technology. So you'll find that technology is required in almost everything. Then engaging the global south. हम हमेशा ये सोचते हैं कि यार if America is not supporting us, the Chinese are against us, so who is going to support us? Let me tell you, global south is one area where India can identify with them. They identify India as part of the global south. So if we have this diplomatic heft, it is going to play out in terms of proscription of terrorist groups, etc. in the United Nations. किस ग्रुप को टेररिस्ट डिक्लेयर करना है. पाकिस्तान में ट्राई लेवल बेस्ट टू avoid getting its groups which it is sponsoring in India as being named as terrorist groups, but ultimately it will not succeed because of the fact that India enjoys a greater support from the global south. We should not worry too much about that they are for 2 years in the UN Security Council. It's a long term game. Reforming institutions and building strategic capacities is another area. We have to reform our internal functioning to ensure that the technologies which we are now getting are able to get harnessed and used in war fighting. For example, cyber, this is the new area. Now we need to create the organizations, create the structures. They are already underway, but what I'm saying is that it will require a constant review. And finally, all this has to be weaved into a coherent grand strategy. जब तक हम strategy नहीं बनाएंगे ना, तो कभी भी हम जीत नहीं सकते कोई लड़ाई. कौटिल्य ने बोला है कि भाई टैक्टिक्स ठीक है, एक आपके पास टैक्टिक्स है तो आप टैक्टिक्स अच्छी है तो आप अपनी लड़ाई जीत सकते हो, लेकिन उसके लिए ज्यादा आपको कॉस्ट देनी पड़ेगी इन टर्म्स ऑफ लॉस ऑफ लाइफ, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एटसेट्रा. लेकिन अगर आपके पास ग्रैंड स्ट्रेटजी अच्छी है, then you can do the same thing in a much lesser cost to your human resource and infrastructure. So if this is the root cause why we need to prepare ourselves technologically, so that we are capable of defending ourselves. I have identified 7 critical technologies which are a must for us in the future to have a full mastery over it. First of all is the artificial intelligence and machine learning. Remember, as of today, we are only in a narrow artificial intelligence field. This artificial intelligence is likely to increase to artificial general intelligence, where artificial intelligence will be able to almost be at par with human intelligence. and then there is going to be a next stage called artificial super intelligence. Now that would be something where the artificial intelligence crosses the human mind. So we are as of now only at the narrow artificial intelligence, and yet we are seeing that there are so many transformative changes which are taking place. DRDO is doing a great job. IDEX platforms are really becoming a game changer, and आप देख रहे हैं कि IDEX ने अभी पिछले पिछले 3-4 साल में 300 कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स प्राइवेट वेंडर या स्टार्टअप्स को दिया है, विच इज अ वेरी गुड साइन. तो मेरा मानना है कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस जो है वो टेक्नोलॉजी जो है that is the most important, because artificial intelligence is going to be in everything. It is going to be in your war fighting, precision guidance. It is going to be in logistics optimization. It is going to be in intelligence management. You name a field where artificial intelligence will not be required. So therefore priority number one is the artificial intelligence. Now the second technology which is required is unmanned systems. Now unmanned systems like UAVs, UKVs, unarmed unarmed aerial vehicle, armed aerial vehicle, underground vehicle, unarmed ground vehicles, unarmed underwater vehicles. So these are the new technologies which need to be developed. But even for this, you require AI. AI is something which is all pervasive. Cyber and electronic warfare. Now everything can be cyber attacked. Every system of ours can be interfered through electronic warfare. So therefore both we should have the offensive capability to disrupt the enemies systems through cyber and electronic warfare, and also prevent or protect our own system. So therefore we require spectrum dominance, we require EMP based disruption tools, we require cyber resilience and rapid response protocols against sophisticated malware and state sponsored attack. China and Pakistan consistently do this thing. Next is the communication. Now in communications, software defined radios are the things, and now we are talking of cognitive radios. Now that is something a step even much above that, above the SDR. So therefore these are the new areas where we need to work quickly and fast, otherwise we'll be left behind. This is the race. This technological race is one where India still stands the chance to be amongst the top. Unless we do that, अगर हम इसको नहीं अपने काबू में करेंगे तो हम फिर पिछड़ जाएंगे. और इसलिए मेरा ये मानना है कि भारत सरकार ने पूरा जोर लगाया है इस चीज पर कि हम जो नई टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं उसको पहले मास्टर करें. इन सब चीजों को जो सपोर्ट कर रहा है ऊपर से वो है स्पेस बेस्ड नेटवर्क्स. कम्युनिकेशन में जो स्पेस की लेयर से जो नेटवर्क आ रहा है उससे क्या हो रहा है कि कम्युनिकेशन इज बिकमिंग रिडंडेंट. इट इज नॉट प्योरली डिपेंडेंट ऑन द ground based infrastructure. It can also go through underwater submarine cables. It can also be through the various space based satellites which are looking at communications. Earlier we used to have that lag. पहले जो सैटेलाइट कम्युनिकेशन अगर आपने देखा होगा तो हमारा आपस में एक लैग होता था कि भाई आप इधर से बोल रहे हैं फिर उधर से कुछ टाइम लगता था रिपीट करने में. ऑल दैट इज गॉन नाउ because we are now exploiting all the three orbits, LEO, MEO and geosynchronous orbits. Then you have the quantum technology. Now quantum technology is required for encryption. जो हमारे systems हैं उनको बचाने के लिए, उनको प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए encryption की जरूरत होती है, computing और sensing की जरूरत होती है. India has just started the National Mission on Quantum Technologies and Application, NMQTA SP, R&D in quantum encryption, radar and communication networks. इन सब चीजों पे अभी जोर देना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो we will be suffering a lot in the future. For counter stealth aircraft, enhanced secure communication, इन सब सारी चीजों के लिए हमें क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजीज की, क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग की जरूरत है. एडवांस्ड एयर डिफेंस कैपेबिलिटीज, अभी आपने देखा होगा आप सिंदूर में हमने अपने लेगेसी सिस्टम जो थे उनका इस्तेमाल किया, उनको अपग्रेड किया था. लेकिन आगे आने वाले वक्त में लेगेसी सिस्टम से काम नहीं चलेगा. जब हाई स्पीड प्रोजेक्टाइल्स आएंगे हमारे ऊपर, बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल्स आएंगे, हाइपरसोनिक अटैक्स होंगे, उसके लिए हमको अभी स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट एयर डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स की जरूरत है, स्मार्ट गन एम्यूनिशन की जरूरत है, जो कि सेल्फ सीकिंग या अपने आप ही वो टारगेट को देखें और उसके ऊपर उसको अटैक करें, इस तरह के एम्यूनिशन और लाने की जरूरत है। हमारा जो इंडिजिनस ग्रीन पाइन रडार है, जो कि हमें इनिशियली इजरायली सपोर्ट से मिला था, उसको हमने अब इंडिजिनस बना दिया है। दिस इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर हमारे बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल डिफेंस के लिए। हाइपरसोनिक के लिए अभी भी दुनिया में किसी ने फूल प्रूफ मेथड नहीं बनाया है, अमेरिका ने भी नहीं बनाया है, चाइना के पास भी नहीं है। तो हमको इन सब जगहों पे काम करना है। हाइपरसोनिक मिसाइल जो थ्रेट्स हैं, दीज आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स। एनिमी भी हमारे ऊपर इस तरह के हमले करेगा, उस समय हमको इन सब चीजों को नकारने के लिए तैयार रहना चाहिए। वी शुड बी रेडी फॉर सच थिंग। एसेट स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजीज में हमने एसेट का टेस्टिंग किया, अब उसको ऑपरेशनलाइज करने की जरूरत है। नैविक जो है हमारा, नैविक जो सिस्टम है, जो नेविगेशन सिस्टम है, हमको उसको कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि दूसरे का जो नेविगेशन सिस्टम होता है, जैसे कि जीपीएस हो गया, चाइना का अपना खुद का बाइडू है, रशिया का उनका खुद का अपना नेविगेशन सिस्टम है। हमारा जो नेविक है वो अभी खाली 7 सैटेलाइट है, उसमें कुछ एक शायद ऑफ काम नहीं कर रही थी, बट ये जो 52 सैटेलाइट हम भेज रहे हैं, उसकी उसके अलावा हमको नेविक की जितनी भी सैटेलाइट्स हैं उनको पूरा करना है, उनको हार्डन करना है, मिलिट्री ग्रेड बनाना है, ताकि इन द फ्यूचर they are not destroyed by our enemy action in the space भी is also getting totally militarized and weaponized. And in order to have an adequate redundancy, लॉन्च ऑन डिमांड कैपेबिलिटी स्पेस में बना। लॉन्च ऑन डिमांड का मतलब तो किसी सैटेलाइट अगर हमारी कोई खराब हो गई या फिर एनिमी एक्शन से कुछ हुआ, तो हम तुरंत अपनी दूसरी सैटेलाइट लॉन्च कर सकें। ये कैपेबिलिटी बहुत जरूरी है, और हम बना भी रहे हैं इस कैपेबिलिटीज को। दूसरा है कि लॉन्च ऑन डिमांड रिक्वायरमेंट पे भी होता है कि अगर हमें कोई प्लान करना है, कुछ ऑपरेशंस करने हैं, तो हम एडवांस में कुछ सैटेलाइट्स वगैरह से इंफॉर्मेशन, जियो स्पेशल इंटेलिजेंस वगैरह इनसे हम ले सकते हैं। तो आप देखेंगे कि हमको काफी एक्शन करना है अभी इन सब चीजों में। तो अगर मैं इन सातों में से मुझे प्रायोरिटी देनी हो, तो पहले मैं आपको देखूंगा कि ग्लोब में क्या हो रहा है, ग्लोबल लेवल में कौन क्या कर रहा है। तो अगर आप देखेंगे जहां तक चाइना, इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, इन तीनों को मैंने लिया है, यूएसए को मैंने हटा दिया है, क्योंकि यूएसए काफी आगे है। तो और यूएसए को हम इस समय अपने ऊपर डायरेक्ट खतरा नहीं मानते हैं। तो अगर एआई और ऑटोनॉमी में देखेंगे, तो एआई और ऑटोनॉमी मतलब ऑटोनोमस सिस्टम्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, जो कि अपने आप एक्टिवेट होते हैं, अपने आप टारगेट पे जाते हैं और डिस्ट्रॉय करके अपना टास्क पूरा करके या तो वहीं खत्म हो जाते हैं या वापस आते हैं। तो इस तरह की जो टेक्नोलॉजी है, इसमें चाइना इज अ ग्लोबल लीडर। बट अगेन आई विल कॉशन यू, चाइना हैज एन untested system which can only be proven if they फाइट इन अ रियल बैटल। सिमुलेशन करके, वो लैब्स में टेस्ट करके, ठीक है, यू कैन अचीव सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस, बट अल्टीमेटली द प्रूफ ऑफ द पुडिंग लाइज इन actual employment of your system. So therefore, China is also a little worried, but you cannot deny that it's a global leader. India का जहां तक सवाल है, AI and autonomy, we are there. Just to give you an example, in the last 5 years, China has invested $162 billion in AI, whereas India has invested $16 billion. And Pakistan ki to, I mean, we can't even think about it. It is nowhere near as far as AI and autonomy is concerned. It is just simply riding over the Chinese capability and trying to use their technology. It is purely on borrowed technology, whether it is from China or sometimes it is from Pakistan and Turkey. Drone fleet, China has about 1.5 million plus drones. India has just about 3,000, and Pakistan has about 2,000. Some mostly they are imported. As far as satellites are concerned, for ISR, any intelligence reconnaissance and surveillance की जो सैटेलाइट्स होती हैं, दुश्मन के बारे में डिटेल्स पता करने के लिए, China has about 600. India has had 3, now it is sending 52 more, or it is already on the way. I think काफी number of satellites have already been sent up in the space out of the 52. So we have about, you can say, 55 now military constellation satellites, and 89 are dual use kind. As far as Pakistan is concerned, it is totally backed by China. UAV programs, China has a number of them. They have a vast lead over India, but India is also catching up. Rustam, Archer, NG, etc. are some systems which are there as far as India is concerned, and of course the private players are also chipping in. Tata Defense Systems, and there are Alpha Defense. Number of companies are there in the private sector also, along with the DRDO, which are looking at the UAV programs. Then you have, as far as Pakistan is concerned, it is all borrowed. Burak from the Chinese, Bayraktars from the Turkey, and Zia class. You've seen it in the Op Sindoor also. Defense exports here in China is ahead of us, about 4 billion annually. India is around 500 million annually, but we are keeping a good target. And of late, you find after Op Sindoor, demand for Indian indigenous systems have grown, whether it is the BrahMos missile, whether it is the Akash missile, whether it is the Akash Tir missile, so Akash Tir system for air defense. So you have a growing demand for Indian systems, which is a good sign. As far as Pakistan is concerned, its exports are very, very minimal. What should I प्रायोरिटाइज एज फार एज टेक्नोलॉजी इज कंसर्न, जो स्ट्रैटेजी क्या होनी चाहिए हमारी. मैंने ये शॉर्ट नोटिस पर ये प्रेजेंटेशन बनाई है. आई मेड दिस प्रेजेंटेशन ऑन अ शॉर्ट नोटिस, सो आई फाइंड दैट there are not many people who are looking at it because I did not announce it in advance. But definitely those who are listening to this particular presentation, please share it with your friends and family, so that more number of people can get to know as to what India is up to as of today in the field of next generation technology, because this will decide whether India will succeed in the future or not. And therefore, the government of India, I can assure to people of India that we are fully going full throttle in getting the new next generation technology in our system, in our defense forces strategy. So the prioritized technologies for India, of course, we require all of them, but the ones where we have to immediately work on, firstly, is the battlefield management system. Unless we have the full transparency of the battlefield, we will not be able to take real time action. For example, I'll just tell you, earlier we used to take, if you have to take an artillery fire, you all know कि artillery क्या होती है, guns जो होती है आटी की, उसको हमको फायर, दुश्मन के ऊपर फायर डालने के लिए we used to take good over 30 to 40 minutes. Now you can do it in 2 to 3 minutes, right? So that is the change which the technology is getting in. So therefore, unless I am able to spot the target, unless I am able to activate the weapon system and get the fire onto it, get the feedback whether target is destroyed or not, and then relaunch or recorrect and relaunch, all these things now need quick action. So we are calling this as OODA loop, observe, orient, detect, and act. So therefore, these are things, decide and act. So these are the things which are the future today. So so for that we require very secure communications. If our communications get disturbed, our OODA loop will get cut. That means, are this cycle which I just told you, kill chain cycle as we are nowadays calling it. There are every time new names which get evolved. Earlier we used to call it as OODA loop, now it is called kill chain. In this kill chain, if the network is gone, then your kill chain gets disturbed, and then it will be very difficult कि आप लोग अपना target achieve, हम लोग अपना target achieve कर पाएं. So this is next area where we have to make our communication very secure. Swarm drones. Now swarm drones is something which is very good for area denial and low cost strike option है. अब कहाँ लोग एयरक्राफ्ट यूज करते थे पहले एरिया डिनाइल के लिए, अब स्वॉर्म ड्रोन से आप एयरक्राफ्ट और फिर इन्फेंट्री और इस तरह की कन्वेंशनल फोर्सेस को इस्तेमाल किया जाता था किसी एरिया को डिनाई करने के लिए. अब जो है स्वॉर्म ड्रोन है जो कि सस्ते भी हैं और उनके पास एक लिथैलिटी भी है. They are able to easily deny an area. They look also, and they also give you live pictures of that area. Then hypersonic missiles. Now strategic deterrence is very important. We have the capability of hypersonic missiles, but we don't have the capability to defend it. I think we need to start working very seriously. There are works going on. As of now, the entire world is trying to find some solution to hypersonic missile defense. Autonomous platforms are going to be a big thing. Border patrolling, surveillance, combat in harsh terrain, इस तरह की चीजों के लिए इनकी जरूरत पड़ेगी. अब लोग सोचते हैं कि जो रिमोट से हम करते हैं ना, मूवमेंट करते हैं किसी किसी अपने सिस्टम का, वेपन का या इक्विपमेंट का, दैट इज ऑटोनोमस. नो, दैट्स नॉट ऑटोनोमस. ऑटोनोमस मीन्स फायर एंड फॉरगेट. once I have fired it, then the system which is going, it is seeking the target on its own, avoiding obstacles on its own, going up and down on its own, seeking the correct target, and not getting on to our own target. All that is being done by itself. That would be called an autonomous platform. Today we are, the military is working on man unmanned teams. That means there will be human, and then there will be those who are, uh, there will be those systems which are unmanned, totally autonomous. They will become like a team. The Air Force is doing it in a big way. Loyal wingman concept उसको बोलते हैं, जिसमें कि टाटा डिफेंस सिस्टम ने एक बनाया भी है. अभी भी एक प्रोटोटाइप उसका बना दिया है इन्होंने. तो भारत इसमें काम कर रहा है, बहुत जल्दी से, तेजी से कर रहा है. देन एक्सोस्केलेटन्स, जो सोल्जर्स की ऑगमेंटेशन. यू सी, सबसे ज्यादा जो खतरा होता है किसको होता है? एक इन्फेंट्री सोल्जर को. एक जो भी लड़ाई में आगे है, वो सबसे ज्यादा बेयर करता है brunt of the attack. So it requires a system which can monitor its, which can prevent it. The exoskeletons are very light armor systems which can prevent the soldier from getting hurt, or it can mitigate the injuries which the soldiers get. It can monitor the health of the soldier who's wearing it. It can also, then thereafter the soldier can also be added with various devices which can make its task easier, such as night vision devices, such as communication systems which are light and which can connect to them, data picture of the entire battlefield. Now there can be a danger of overload. So what we do is that, not necessary that everybody is overloaded with data. So we may have only the commanders having the data which is the data which he would require to operate, and not everything gets percolated to him. So all these things will have to be done to ensure that the soldier, because ultimately it's the man behind the machine which will win the war for us. In 65, Pakistanis had patterns, but look what happened to the patterns. They got converted into graves in the Longewal. So similar kind of a thing India is well known for, and that is fighting with what it has. But it doesn't mean that then we just sit on our haunches and do not do anything related to technology, etc. So my point is that these are the 5-6 areas where we need to focus in a greater manner. And of course space I did not add, but space is also emerging domain, and we have to be very very focused on developing our space capabilities as well. For that we require larger number of satellites. We require the sensors, etc. on the satellite. We need to protect our satellites from anti-satellite actions by the adversaries. There are a number of ways in which our adversary can actually destroy our satellites without even one getting to know about it. It go into the gray zone mein chala jayega wo. So we have to be prepared for such like action. So therefore, what should be our defense tactical technical strategy? First and foremost, we need to develop the doctrine for this. Integrating disruptive technologies. We have just been talking, we have been using it in a ad hoc manner. Now we have had some experience of Sindoor. We need to now create a joint doctrine where we will be able to then use these emerging technologies effectively to achieve victory. Ultimately, there are no runners up in war. It's either you're a victor or you're a loser. And in India has never and will never uh, accept any cause, any case of defeat. Defeat is not there in our dictionary. Defeat is not there. Yeah, I mean, don't take 1962 as an example. See, after 1962, we have repeatedly given blue eyes to the Chinese, whether it was the 1967 thing, whether it was the Galwan, whether it was Doklam, whether it was Yangtze, everywhere we have dealt with them with iron fist and ensured that they can never now go on top of us. Yes, they have definitely a larger capacity, larger capability because of the lead which they have in terms of economic condition, but even their economy is now coming down. Jan Shankar must have been talking almost on a daily basis that the way their economy is now plunging, I don't think they will have the wherewithal to again rise up. On top of it, they have the problem of demography. Their demography is aging. One young boy, a young couple, have to look after 12 couples because of their single child norm. Nobody is willing to now come into the PLA. So what they are doing, they're trying to develop robot armies. Now, robot armies as of today have their limitations, right? So we have to exploit those limitations. So what if they have more number of robots? But we know that robots are robots. They are based on technology. Can we disrupt that technology and ensure that their robots become duds? ये चीजें जो है हमको अभी देख इनको भी देखना है. So our doctrine has to be very clearly laid down. Second is established warfare labs and technical battle groups at the command level. हम लोग सब कुछ सेंट्रली फोकस कर रहे हैं, बट लड़ाई तो आगे नीचे लोगों ने लड़नी है. So what we need to do is that we have to now percolate our systems down below at the fighting level, where we have all the facilities for experimentation, for incubation, for innovation, then testing them there itself, and then live testing them in exercises, etc., and simulation. So that as we decentralize, more and more elements of our army will get trained, armed forces will get trained to handle such technology. There is a little bit of difference between the Air Force, Navy, and our Indian Army. Air Force and Navy are a platform based organization, so they have to essentially focus on a ship or a carrier or the aviation efforts which they have. Similarly, Air Force focuses on the aviation effort plus the air defense. Whereas Indian Army is concerned, it has to focus on everything: platforms. It has to focus on its soldiers. It has to focus on various systems getting integrated. It has to focus on uh, crossing. It has to focus on tactics to navigate harsh terrain, surprise the enemy. So there are so many things which the Indian Army has to has to focus on as far as our technological induction is concerned. So we have a job at hand as far as the army is concerned. Third is that institutionalized red teaming against adversary technology. So earlier we used to do only red and blue, which means that basically दुश्मन और दोस्त का हम एक simulated exercise करते थे. We used to do exercise having a group of our own people or our own officers acting as enemy, and the other side acting as the own forces, and then coming up with various scenarios and how each one would react. But now there is a need for having red teaming of technologies also. Okay, the adversary in the north has these technologies, so how is he going to use? So therefore there would be group of people who will be now using these technologies of the enemy against us, and we will have to negate that particular technology in a way that we don't suffer casualties and attack them. So what I'm saying is there has to be now red teaming also of the technology. Fourth is reforms in the military education and training to embed AI, space, and cyber. Example, I can tell you that we have to now start looking at our training systems also, so that we are capable of handling the new generation equipment. Cannot remain in the old conventional mode. You saw initially Russia did suffer a lot. Slowly they have now innovated themselves. They have done innovations on the go. They have trained themselves. They have learned their lessons, and now they are able to cope up with the change situation, and they are doing better. Next part of our strategy should be that we should create a national war center where policy, operation, technology, everything gets discussed, and then we come out as a very joint integrated force. Integration this time you saw in Op Sindoor was a fine order, but you must have realized that everything was being done uh, at the highest level. I don't think there is a need for that much amount of you know uh, intervention at that level. Once the task is given to the armed forces, they should be able to do the whole thing based on the political directive within themselves. Therefore, such war centers, etc., would be a very great help. Then we need to also have our ops rooms, etc., at the joint level. The CDS has been created. So CDS has to now become more and more, I would say, central function, coordinating the three services, and then moving ahead. Not that it was not done. What I'm saying is that now this system has been tested now in Ops Sindoor. It needs to be made more robust. It needs to be made more strong, so that we are able to meet the challenges in a fast paced battle, long drawn battle. जो लंबे समय तक लड़ाई अगर लड़नी लड़ेंगे हम, उसमें ये सारे systems अपने आप फंक्शन करनी चाहिए, अगर हम इन सब चीजों को दोबारा properly establish कर लेते हैं. So finally, I would say some way ahead for India is India is no more a balancing power. It is a bridging power, and we are neither anti-west, we are neither anti-east, we are non-west, non-east, and connecting east to west and north to south. So therefore, we must utilize this positively by seizing opportunities wherever we get, and also helping either side. It has to be a transactional relationship, because we now have the necessary heft. You see, the biggest consumer market is there with India, and that is a big leverage which we have, and we must exploit that for getting better and better technology, especially from the US. And well, let's not get cowed down by what they are trying to say. Some senator of theirs was saying something that we will teach, punish India, etc., etc. Let's see how it does. India is not a pushover power now. A rising actor in international arena. This is that is desperately seeking equilibrium. We are trying to see a balance. See, our overall policy has always been peaceful, but now along with the peace comes a resolve, which says that will use power if required. We will use it to effect if required. We are not going to be pushed around now. That's the change which we have got. Act with the wisdom of Kautilya, foresight of Nehru, the conviction of Vajpayee, and the strategic boldness of Modi. And I would also add Indira. So, this is the kind of strategy which we need to have. Drawing from our past to our present, सबके अच्छे गुण लेकर के एक ऐसी ग्रैंड स्ट्रेटजी बनाएं कि भारत की तरफ लोगों को मुंह उठा के देखने में भी डर लगे. भले ही हमारे पास अभी उतने रिसोर्सेज नहीं है, लेट अस मेक एवरी डॉलर काउंट शुड बी आवर स्ट्रेटजी एज फार एज फ्यूचर टेक्नोलॉजीज आर कंसर्न. Act with coherence, confidence, and clarity. Every soldier, every general, every leader, whether political, bureaucratic, diplomatic, must act with confidence and clarity, must have faith in our country, and must ensure that whatever we do is for Bharat, for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Self-reliance is the mantra. Unless we are self-reliant, unless we are Atmanirbhar, we will not be able to fight a prolonged war. We cannot depend on only imports. Anybody can choke us at any time. Remember, GPS was denied to us during Kargil. We should not have a similar situation. Mahabharat reminds us एक्शन इज द हॉलमार्क ऑफ अ पर्सन, यानी कि कर्म ही एक आदमी का असली जो कहते हैं पहचान है. लेट दिस बी दी हॉलमार्क ऑफ इंडिया. यही हॉलमार्क, यही स्ट्रेटजी इंडिया की होनी चाहिए डिफेंस के मामले में, कि इन द एज ऑफ अनसर्टेनिटी वी विल एक्ट विद क्लैरिटी, कॉन्फिडेंस. With that, I would like to conclude this particular talk by saying that let us act with the wisdom of Kautilya, the vision of Nehru, the conviction of Vajpayee, resolute leadership of Indira Gandhi, and Modi, strategic boldness of Modi. I mean, one thing which the current Prime Minister has really brought in is that the boldness both at the strategic level. He has shifted the dynamics of response. Earlier, we were constrained within the JNK. We then and within JNK, within ground forces. Now we have gone beyond the ground forces, went into the aerial domain in Balakot, and after that we changed the boundaries also. In Kargil, we remained restricted to the LC, but now we have gone beyond that. We have gone beyond the conviction of Vajpayee to the fact that the entire country of Pakistan is on the table for a response if they conduct any terror attack against India. And finally, I would like to end here by saying that we need to focus on our capability development. We have very limited time, and unless we focus on it on a war footing, government is doing its bit, but private players have to get into it. Academia has to get into it. IITs have to churn out state of the art ideas, innovations, which can then be taken to the industry, which can then make mass produce it for the country for exports. Unless we make these kind of radical changes, we have to get over our procurement policies, which are stricken by bureaucracy, which are stricken by procedures, lengthy procedures, ultimately delaying our procurements, etc. All that has to go out of the window. वो सारी चीजों को खिड़की से बाहर फेंकने की जरूरत है. इस समय हम हर चीज को एनसीएनसी करते हैं, नो कॉस्ट नो कमिटमेंट बेसिस पे हम उनसे एक इंडस्ट्री से बोलते हैं कि आ करके हमें आप डेमो दीजिए. देखिए सबका पैसा खर्च होता है, तो everybody works for the bottom line. So therefore I think the government needs to accept failures also, where you may task some companies to do a particular project, it may not succeed. In the US, they encourage people to take on new projects. If they fail, they have a ways and means to strike it off or write it off. So therefore, unless we do these kind of flexible changes in our procurement process, we will not be able to get the technology capability which we need for the future war fighting. Thank you. I've got some questions, so let me see if I can take some questions. I'll start from the bottom. Gitanjali. Uh, uh, Gitanjali says, Lieutenant Dushyant, my query regarding helicopter is because they can be hit with drones and not as measure to save money. Okay, now this debate has arisen as far as the helicopters are concerned between swarm drones and the drones and the helicopters. Drones are cheaper, difficult to hit, but then their capacity to hit or their ability to cause damage is also very very limited. So if we have an air dominance, see, the whole thing is if we have the air dominance, and air dominance can be achieved by a team, a kind of a strategy of team of swarm drones, air defense radar, uh, knocking off of the enemy defense radar, and more importantly, nowadays there is something called a team of overt and covert. Look what the Israelis did in against Iran. Their air defense radars were actually knocked off by their covert elements in Iran itself, and then the aircraft flew into Iran without any kind of damage being suffered by them. So they were able to actually hit at random, at will, all the targets which they had set out to hit. So therefore, I think we need these machines, but we need them we need to use them in a manner that they are able to deliver what they have to deliver. Then the next question is again, as you mentioned in one of your podcasts, the US is moving away from helicopters, etc., and going towards drones. Should we also stop buying Apache, etc., unnecessarily? I've already answered this question. We need to only recalibrate it. How much we should go in for helicopters and how much we should go in for swarm drones, for drones and UCAVs and UAVs, etc. That we need to make a plan, and that's why you'll find that we have just the army has taken about 66 of them. The Air Force has taken 22 of them. I don't think they will go more than this, and hopefully, what you are saying is the fact that there'll be a recalibration, which I also agree with you. Uh, then there is a question from Siddharth Vision. Generations of Chinese grew up with no siblings, cousins, no uncles and aunts. Fully agree with you. That is why I said that they are now facing the problem of uh, they are facing the problem of managing their demographic dividend. It's no more a dividend. I think the Chinese are going to have tough time in the future. Economy plummeting, the demography challenges. They are able to sustain as of now because of their economic heft. As of today, they are the second largest economy. There's no denial on that, but it is not going to last forever. People thought that they're going to grow. I don't think they're going to grow anymore now. There will be a slide down, and for India, there is still a lot of scope, and hope we are able to balance this, demography and the economic growth bit in a manner that both are complementary and we don't suffer later on. We have a window of about 30 odd years, but somebody said it has reduced down to about 20 years. I mean, the world IMF figures are such. Whatever be the case, if you got 20 years of a demographic dividend, we should make the best use of it, and within 20 years we should be able to take our economy to the levels which would be helpful to us in terms of developing our capabilities in the defense and other aspects of national security. Then there is I didn't see the question, but let me just see. China has underwater drones. Hope India also has. Look, these podcasts are not meant to disclose what we have or what we don't have, but suffice it to say, the fact that I am talking about it, it means that India is also working on it. Whether we have it, not have it, that leave it to our serving guys. They are possibly more aware of the problem which we are likely to encounter in the future. We are trying to highlight what is happening on the other side. So if this is happening on the other side, Shilpa, I'm sure when I'm talking about it as a retired person, imagine those guys who are in service, they would be literally uh, bracing up to meet these challenges. So be calm as far as that aspect is concerned. Then there is a question, I think, by uh, Kiran Chand Gunmadi. Sir, Russia is producing 1,000 drones per day. If you have to fight China, we need volume. Yes, there is no doubt about it. But we also need counter drone systems. You see, we always get carried away by a thing as far as one particular aspect when we talk of wars, etc. War is a very complex game. There would be information war which is going on simultaneously, which happened in Op Sindoor. You saw it. There would be fake narratives which would be flowing around. There would be attack on our infrastructure through cyber, through hacking, through means like covert means, sabotage, etc. All that will be happening. There is a sense of depth of battlefield is gone now. If we are going to face China in a prolonged war or with Pakistan in a prolonged war, it is Kanyakumari to Kerala and from Gujarat to West Bengal, or for that matter, I would call to Mizoram and Tripura. That's the expanse. That's why I'm saying it's a seamless fused front today which we are going to face. हमें एक single front मिलेगा, क्योंकि collaboration between China और पाकिस्तान इतना ज्यादा हो गया है कि वो लोग एक दूसरे के हेडक्वार्टर में ऑफिस भी रखते हैं. यहाँ अगर कोई एक्शन हो रहा तो उसी का तुरंत कोई ना कोई काउंटर एक्शन या काउंटर सजेशन वो चाइना से आ जाता है इनके लिए. इतना लेवल है इनका कोऑपरेशन का आपस में. उसका रीजन भी है because the Chinese are more interested in keeping India behind. They see India as the only threat now which can which can actually hurt their growth towards supremacy or towards superpower. So therefore, they will always like to keep India behind. But India, as I said, is no more a pushover. You can see what happened in. We are not claiming that we did something in Myanmar. It was the Alpha guys who gave out a press conference saying that they have been attacked by some drones, etc. There, some commander has been killed of the Kaplan group. So these are things which the guys are themselves saying. It is not the terrorists. It is not those guys who are sitting across. Barua, we know where Barua is. If you want, We can knock off Barua. It's a messaging to our northern adversary that please do not meddle with us. Please do not meddle with our matters. We are capable of taking action. So it's a indirect message to our northern adversary. Come what they want to do. Look at how we are now dealing with Tibet. Dalai Lama's reincarnation. We have upfront said certain things very clearly that the reincarnation must follow the traditional route. So I think India is now getting stronger and stronger, and we are now creating a voice for ourselves. Imagine, I mean, despite all the fact that there is a ongoing rift between India and the US has prescribed TRF ultimately. Why have they done it? Nobody does anything for free. They know that India is an opportunity, and India knows that we can provide an opportunity to someone, provided we are not harmed. If you take the example of tariffs, we cannot have a one-way agreement like the Indonesians have done. Indonesians have just caved in. No tariff on any good which is going from Indonesia to America, but the Americans still levy a tariff on Indonesia for the sorry, no tariffs for goods coming from America to Indonesia, but the Americans are levying tariff on the Indonesian goods. This is no agreement which India will agree to. They were trying to offer the similar agreement to India. How will India agree to this kind of a thing? Okay, we'll have to suffer a little setback. We have a trade surplus with the United States of America. For some time it will be, but it will hurt the Americans more, not us. And let me tell you, sanctions have always given the best out of any country. 1998 sanctions happened against India, and we came out so brilliantly. Today, we are a space faring nation with full capability. We don't require anybody else's help. Yeah, there are some issues regarding manned flights, etc. That also we will overcome. So, therefore, I think India will be able to. India has the capacity to produce the number of drones. It is the parts which is the challenge. The supply chain of the parts where China still holds certain amount of edge. In fact, India has been working for the past 2 years to overcome these supply chain issues related to chips and magnets, etc. But let's hope that we are able to overcome these in next few years. I think we will be able to, based on my information. So so I mean, this is also again, sir. Where is our Shahid type cheap drones? Look, these drones, etc., is something India has now today. The 15 topmost startups countries companies are on drones only. The capacity है हमारे पास. We have the capacity. We will produce it, and if required, surge will be done. It's just a matter of time. You will see that we will come out better off. We have also imbibed the lessons of Up Sindoor, and we are going to work overtime on these issues. So with that, I think I have finished 1 hour, which was the time which I had kept for myself for this particular podcast. Please do share this podcast with everyone, like, subscribe, the bell icon so that you keep getting these information. I believe our channel is getting trolled by our adversaries, so it's a good thing. In fact, uh, it's good that they are trolling us, which means that they are seeing certain realities which they are not liking it. So we, you're most welcome to troll. We will. We will continue to grow on a path independently. We are not dependent on anyone else. Thank you. Jai Hind, and please again spread this video as far and wide as possible. Jai Hind.